Hamish McLaren viewed the world as a giant board game.
Hello, wife. Out in the harbour. 10th of January 2012.
And people, especially women, as mere trinkets to pick up and cast aside.
I think he was cunning. I think he was conniving. He'd do anything to destroy lives to get what he wanted.
How do you spend 16 months of your life in a relationship with someone and you don't even know their real name?
He's never done a day's work in his life and lived the life of Riley and luxury on other people's money.
I lost about $800,000 of my family's money. Damn near bankrupt me, and I hope Hamish goes to prison for a long time.
Hamish was charming, manipulative and cunning, the ultimate con man. Over 3 decades and 4 continents, he stole $70 million from the vulnerable and the naive. Using romance, lies and multiple identities to tear lives apart.
Bluey's Beach, a few hours north of Sydney, and into this quaint, sleepy little holiday village comes Hamish. All flashy car, mysterious history and talk. Lots of talk.
It was 2008. Beck Rosen's marriage had broken down and she'd escaped to Bluey's with her 3 boys to rebuild her life. Hamish was a familiar face around the traps.
You'd see him just kind of out surfing or walking his dogs. And the rumours were he is a futures trader. He ran into some trouble in the early 2000s, but everyone was pretty fascinated with him.
Hamish soon picked Beck as an easy target.
So he'd come and say, hey, listen, I know you're working. Do you reckon the boys would like to come down and I'll take them surfing? And the boys were like, please, Mum, please, Mum.
He was a really nice person when I met him, and you know, he'd take me on runs and we'd box together and things like that, which was really nice for me because I hadn't had like a kind of a father role model like that.
It sounds like it was really a calculated infiltration.
He takes his time. It's all a slow game. I think he thought with me that I was going to get a good divorce settlement.
Hamish launched a charm offensive. He wrote love letters, choosing the words he knew Beck needed to hear.
And then I found you and the boys. I found love.
You were willing to give me a chance, not judge on past history.
It wasn't long before Beck was head over heels.
You know, he's got those... those eyes that are just... yeah. When he's looking at you, talking to you, he's so focused on you. He's all about you.
He was slick and he was smart. He knew not to pretend he was perfect, even admitting to his shady business past.
He said to me, I want you to Google me because you're going to see a whole lot of stuff. That was the old me. That was what happened in 2000. I don't want that now. What I want is a family. And I see that with you and I see that with the boys. I felt amazing. I was so happy.
In love?
I was in love.
It was a whirlwind romance. In October 2010, Beck and Hamish were married in a simple backyard wedding.
She was, yeah, really, really happy. He'd infiltrated our lives so much that he really did make us believe that we were gonna, this was gonna be the best thing for us.
Especially for Jack, who at the time was, I think he was 13 when Hamish came into our lives. And then getting the boys and getting them kind of into sport and surfing and running and doing all this stuff. So yeah, it was a good time.
But Hamish wanted more than a laid-back life at Bluey's Beach. He told Beck he was returning to his old job as an investment trader in Sydney and rented a waterside apartment at prestigious Woolloomooloo Bay.
Hello, wife.
and Beck and the boys went along for the ride. Every weekend in the big city was an adventure.
I just thought, how could this have happened? How could it have pulled together to be right here on the beautiful harbour with this gorgeous man that loves me and who worships the boys? Life's pretty good.
I like paleo food.
I guess let us live like the high life almost. You know, he had that apartment that was on the Finger Wharf, and he'd take us out to nice dinners and we'd go and do cool things in Sydney, you know.
Life felt like a constant holiday. But all the time, Hamish was hard at work, setting up his next con. The clueless Beck even travelled with him on a business trip to New York.
I really want to take you to New York. I've got to do some business in New York and I can show you where I lived, and it was great. I'm all excited, we're in New York.
One day, Hamish asked Beck to accompany him to a business meeting in the heart of Manhattan.
For security reasons, they write your name on a sticker, and I look at his and it says Hamish McLaren. And I started laughing. I went, oh, look at that, they've written McLaren. We both were giggling, going, that's so funny. And he goes, take a photo, and he ripped it off and stuck it on his head, and I took a photo.
In time, Beck would discover that Hamish had many, many different names. But that's not what made Beck doubt the man she had married. Instinct finally kicked in when Hamish started acting strangely around her son Jack's 16-year-old girlfriend, Jane.
I'd see them having a coffee at the cafe together, and I'd go, why is Jack's girlfriend sitting with my husband?
There'd been talk about it, but it was just rumours. You know, every small town has them, and I just kind of disregarded them.
We'd have had dinner and she'd be washing up and he'd get the tea towel and flick her on the bum and stuff like that, that just kind
But it sounds like it was almost, dare I use the word, but flirty.
It was flirty. It was definitely flirty. But when I approached him about it, he just went, what are you talking about? For God's sake, she's like my daughter. We're just mucking around. Like, seriously, Beck, come on.
I was deeply infatuated with him. I was living a duplicitous life.
Looking great.
Just a complete and utter facade, I think.
This is the voice of Jane. She is so deeply scarred by her affair with Hamish that she doesn't want to be identified.
There was a kiss, and that's how it sort of started. You know, I thought at the time that meant that he really cared for me. Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
And what were their ages?
He would have been 45, 46, and she was 16.
Hamish was sleeping with a 16-year-old girl.
He was.
Hamish introduced Jane to a lifestyle way beyond her teenage imagining. Beck was the only one who was suspicious. Her son Jack had no idea his stepfather was betraying him.
Hamish would rock up in some midlife crisis type of car, and she'd be there, this beautiful 16-year-old, and then they'd burn off down the street. And I remember going, bye, like, have fun, thinking, what, this is just... But every time I'd say anything, I was just a lunatic.
And that car, Beck didn't know it at the time, but she was paying for it.
Hamish indulges a nasty habit of buying flash cars with other people's money, many of them from this Sydney Porsche dealership. Beck discovers she is lumbered with the repayments, even though she never had the luxury of driving them.
Cars, deals, dinners, bills, it's all a mystery, and I'm just supposed to say nothing.
Then came the final indignity.
I remember opening the dryer and there was a purple G-string in there. And I remember saying to him, what's this? And he'd say, how would I know?
Was it happening at that point?
Yes, it was. So in August 2013, Hamish writes to me,
Beck, this is not good. We either move forward together, united like we were last week, or we have no hope. If you still want us, it's time to start showing it. I'm a lot of things, but disloyal is not me.
Beck eventually walked away from her marriage to Hamish. But vindication only came when Jane finally admitted to the affair.
Shit, you know, Mum, she was right. You know, when everyone else was saying that she's just crazy and all of these things, she was spot on. I just would want to ask him if he actually felt anything that we did, you know, the love and the connection. I need to know if he felt anything or if it was all just, you know, part of his big plan.
But Hamish was never the reflective type. He'd already moved on to his next target.
None of it was real. None of it was real. It was all an act. It was all... Nothing he ever said meant anything. He wouldn't even give it a second thought.
It's May 2014, and among the runners here at the Sydney Half Marathon is Hamish, a fit, late 40s business guy. He presents himself as this sporty, successful man of the world. But behind those designer sunglasses is a viciously manipulative con man, blithely trailing broken lives in his wake.
It was a bit of a desperate situation, so he came to the house and he said, yep, I can help you. I can get you a loan.
Hamish McLaren was single and on the hunt for his next victim. Karen Lowe was alone, trusting and emotionally fragile after a marriage breakup. She also owned a multi-million-dollar mansion, just his type.
And was that this man?
That was that man, yes. Yeah. Yep. I can't look at him, sorry.
When Hamish stepped inside, he found a property-rich, cash-strapped single mother, and he was quick to pounce.
I'll never forget his face when he walked into my kitchen for the first time. It was like a child in a sweet shop. He was like, oh, wow.
This is just beautiful. How old?
Quite special. 1890.
Gosh.
Karen's Harbourside mansion was worth around $11 million. But after her recent divorce, she didn't have the cash to fix the leaking roof.
He said, you don't have to worry. I'm here to take care of you. Showed him the whole house and it's almost rubbing his hands together. He said, I can help you. And he said, I'll get you $1 million. And no, I don't need $1 million. I just need to borrow $200,000 to fix the house so I can go to the market.
But Hamish quickly convinced Karen to borrow that $1 million. The plan was she'd get the roof fixed and then Hamish would invest the money that was left over.
He did instill confidence. He made me feel that things would be okay.
Karen trusted Hamish so completely that she didn't properly look at any of the loan documents he put in front of her.
And he'd say, all you need to do is sign here and I'll take care of the rest. So he had his hand over that. And
so
then
he's blocking bits of the page so that you don't read it.
I didn't actually see the attached piece of paper, just the back, sign here, sign here, sign there, which makes me sound incredibly stupid, but he, you know, at the time, I thought he was acting for the ANZ Bank.
And that wasn't the only lie. Hamish also invented a grim, fictional childhood.
And the story I got about that was his father was not his real father, that his mother had had an affair. Hamish was the result of the affair. That's why I'm no longer Watson. That's why I'm Hamish McLaren, because of the horrible relationship with my father.
It was a compelling rags to riches tale, from unwanted child to high-flying businessman. And everything Hamish said, everything he did, reinforced that version of himself.
Hamish was all smoke and mirrors. He paid an agent $7,000 for inspections of an apartment James Packer was selling, this multi-million-dollar bachelor penthouse overlooking glamorous Bondi Beach.
He called me one day and said, I'd like you to come and look at Jamie Packer's apartment with me because as a stylist, he said, I like the way you've got your house. I'd love your thoughts on it. He sold it to me that he was looking to buy it.
Of course, Hamish was never going to buy that $23 million property. It was just part of the charade.
That was all to impress, because that's the way he portrayed himself. And he talked the talk. He was all about cars. He was mad about cars and Tom Ford suits.
Hamish amped up his flashy rich man about town persona when Karen's English friend Henry Hannon came to Sydney for a holiday.
He came roaring down the esplanade at Balmoral, where you don't do that, in a brand new Aston Martin. And Henry was quite taken by that.
But he came screeching around the corner in this car, big loud thing, and he had, you know, this muscle top on. And Karen said, oh, look, here's Hamish. I just thought, really?
Henry Hannon was exactly the kind of guy Hamish lived to impress. Henry was a prestige property broker and had solid connections in the British racing world. Here was Hamish's entree into a dazzling new world of wealth.
Do you think when Hamish realised the industry that you were in, he saw it as a whole new network to attempt to infiltrate?
It's a totally new audience for him. There's people with a lot of money, and he would have thought that would be rich pickings, I'd have thought.
So it wasn't long before Hamish was on a plane to England with Karen in tow and with an invitation to Royal Ascot.
This is my friend Henry and I at the races. Hamish really sort of went in for the big sell with Henry and first of all made him, you know, became all blokey around him.
I would say Royal Ascot probably petrified him, because there's a lot of people there that have known people for years and years, and proper money. And when I say proper money, I mean qualified money rather than made up things like that.
Hamish worked hard to ingratiate himself with the upper-class racing crowd, even pretending to buy a horse.
He said that he wanted to buy this horse that was, I think, about £100,000, and kept showing us, you know, photocopies of the transfer that he'd sent through. But there was always a problem with these transfers. But the good thing is that, you know, with racehorses, you don't just pay for it and then take them home. You know, it stays with the trainer, so you still got the horse.
The signs were there, but Henry was having too much fun. So when Hamish invited him to New York on a business trip, Henry jumped at the chance. So did Karen.
Did he buy you a first-class ticket to New York?
He did. Except, I think I did. He bought it with my money, or the bank's money. Yeah, he did.
Hamish claimed he was in New York as part of his job with investment firm Goldman Sachs. He booked Karen and Henry into this swanky hotel in New York's Soho. But something wasn't quite right.
We said to the doorman, have you seen our friend Hamish? And he'd turn around in his American accent, obviously, and say, I don't know Hamish, but I've just seen Mr. James go out. I said, what, Mr. James?
And then he told me that he had to check in under a covert name because Goldman Sachs had done the booking. And I believed it.
How stupid were we? I mean, he called himself Mr. James, and it was the James Hotel. I mean, really? I deserve to be laughed at for that.
Henry was finally starting to tweak. He decided to find out if Hamish really was the high-flying banker he claimed to be.
I have two friends that work at Goldman Sachs, and they looked him up on the staff register, and he wasn't there.
He told me he was going to Goldman Sachs. He had an office at Goldman Sachs. I now know that he was going to a cafe on Broadway with his computer every day,
He's just a dick. Do you not think?
Karen only realised she'd been conned when she was back in Sydney. The bank was demanding loan repayments, but her investment money had disappeared.
Do you remember the feeling you had when the penny dropped? That very first time when you realised that you'd been done over?
Yeah, I do. I still feel it sometimes. I still can, that pit of the stomach, sick feeling that, yeah, I can remember, and I don't think I'll ever forget that.
How much did he take from you?
He took 1.150. Yes, is what he took.
$1.1 million.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing about Hamish, is that he's not like your common burglar that comes into your house, ruffles everything about, and then runs out anonymously. He gets into your social fabric, your emotions, absolutely everything in your life, nicks off you, and then runs away. So it's much, much worse than, you know, a common thief.
Karen was a whisker away from losing her home when a wealthy neighbour swooped in and bought out her mortgage. Karen will pay him back as soon as she sells.
It's very humiliating, actually. I feel humiliated and very silly now that it's over. How I could have fell for it, or, you know, just...
2016, and Hamish was on the Sydney singles scene. He'd cobbled together a fresh identity for himself, and he was going by a brand new name.
We met on an online dating application, and it was around March 2016, and, you know, flicking through photos, and we both connected. He didn't have a description on his profile. It was just Max, 41.
Tracy Hall was a marketing executive and single mum. Hamish was now the younger and very swipe-worthy Max Tavita.
From the photos, he looked okay.
Tracy and Max began talking regularly on the phone. That had always been Hamish's pet strategy for reeling in his victims. He was the consummate listener.
And we started chatting, and I guess it was the conversation that drew me in.
Did you find him attractive?
Yeah, we had great conversations, and for me, when I get to know somebody, it's the person inside that makes them attractive to me.
The relationship progressed quickly, and Tracy was soon spending a lot of time at Max's flash Bondi apartment. There was nothing there to suggest Max was anyone other than who he claimed to be.
There was mail in his mailbox addressed to Max Tavita, you know, and so, again, why would you, I didn't even think about it at the time because I'm like, oh, that's his name.
They were living the dream. Running together, surfing, going on beach picnics, and in this rare recorded voice message, clearly enjoying one another's company.
Max has something to say.
I refuse to say anything that may incriminate me at a further or period point in time.
He's officially off sugar. We'll see how long this lasts.
Started yesterday.
Starting yesterday. All right.
I think it was the simple things that sort of brought us together.
Did you fall in love?
Yeah, I was head over heels in love with him.
Max shared intimate details of his life, even taking Tracy to Barrenjoey Lighthouse on the northern beaches, a place he claimed held special significance.
We're sitting out on a rock and he said, this is where I'll get married one day. This is where I feel closest to my parents because this is where we scattered their ashes. And I was just like, ooh, wow, that's really heavy. And, he was deep in thought, looking out over the ocean, probably, intentionally dramatic, I guess, in retrospect.
Max told her his parents had died in a plane crash when he was young. In fact, they're still alive. And that was just one of his lies.
So he had told me that he had been in New York for 16 years. And I said, oh, were you there when the Twin Towers came down? And he said, yeah, I was actually underneath them. And he said, a friend and I were going to meet someone we worked with, a lady, and we were standing underneath the building waiting for her when the first plane hit. And he went into incredible detail about that experience.
To elaborate that much detail about something fake and remember it all.
Yeah.
Did he ever slip?
Never. He had a knack of, I guess, reeling you in and telling a story and making it sound believable.
But Max's biggest and most elaborate lie was the one he lived every day as a bogus market trader.
That's just in my apartment. He would come over and I may not have seen him for a week or 10 days and he'd come over and just sleep on my couch because, he'd been up trading all night or some crazy story.
Hi, Bub. Just home and heading to bed quickly before the US opens. Hope you're having a great night. Love you the most. Heart, heart, kiss, kiss.
Like any regular working couple, Max and Tracy would often drive from Bondi to the city together of a morning.
For many months, Tracy simply believed her hard-working boyfriend was heading into the office as a market trader here in one of the swankiest financial buildings in Sydney. But again, it was all an elaborate and bitterly cruel lie.
He would get dressed in the morning in his, his full suit and, looked very finance, I guess you could say. And we'd drive into the city and we'd drive to his street. He would let me off. And I think he just drove home and put his board shorts back on. I mean, he didn't have an office. He didn't have this job. He fabricated the whole thing.
Do you think he moulded his image to be what you wanted him to be?
Absolutely. I think in my case, he listened very carefully and constructed his identity, knowing that if he did that I would fall in love with him.
By now, Tracy was so in love, she had entrusted her life savings to one of Max's investment schemes. Her last carefree days were during a mini break on the New South Wales North Coast.
We went and looked at a house in Byron Bay that we both really liked. We were talking about a future in 10 years' time. The conversations were, pretty deep at that point. We'd been together for nearly a year and a half. And, that's what we were discussing as we were walking along the beach.
They returned home, but suddenly, the next day, Max stopped answering his phone. Tracy was frantic.
I was just calling constantly, like texting him, WhatsApping him, emailing him, calling him. So it's just very unusual.
Then Tracy caught an online news report.
And it was the footage of him being arrested outside his apartment, and his face was blurred out, but he's very distinctive looking, so obviously I knew it was him.
You must have just felt sick.
Yeah, I did.
Tracy couldn't comprehend what had happened. There had to have been some terrible mix-up. Then she received a strange text message.
Hi Tracy, please call me back on this number urgently, Chris. And then in brackets he wrote, Hamish's brother-in-law. And that's when I called him straight away and I said, who the f*** is Hamish? Because that's the first time I'd say, and I'm seeing it on a text message and I'm like, what? And he said, Hamish Watson, Hamish McLaren. I said, well, who's Max Tavita? He said, what do you even mean? And that's when the world came crumbling down around me. It was very surreal.
After decades playing cat and mouse with the law around the world, his luck finally runs out here in Bondi, Sydney in 2017.
Police charged Hamish with a series of frauds that had cost his victims nearly $8 million in life savings.
And then, only then, I remembered that he had my money. And I was like, oh, shit. Yeah.
How much did he take from you?
I lost nearly $320,000.
Then, after days of silence, Tracy received a call from Silverwater Jail, where Hamish was awaiting trial.
You are about to receive a phone call from the Silverwater Correctional Centre.
And you get 6 minutes. I was just so desperate for information and the truth because everything had been such a lie. Why did you lie about your name? Like, what's your real name? Like, what's your identity?
Come on, bub. Don't get hung up on a name.
He goes, oh, it's just a name. He was so offhandish with everything. You know, it's just a name.
Hamish followed up the phone call with a barrage of letters, trying to convince Tracy that their love was real.
I was thinking just now that time we grabbed the paddle boards and your little hands and arms could hardly get any power down. Though you were trying so hard. I'm smiling whilst I wrote this.
You faked your identity for 16 months. You pretended to love me. You took all of my life savings. And now you're sending me a letter telling me how much you love me. Like, you must think I'm so stupid. My mental health took a real battering during that period. It was probably the lowest I've ever been.
The law had finally caught up with Hamish McLaren, and Tracy was there in court when he pleaded guilty.
He looked old. He was in jail clothes. In that moment when I saw him, that memory of the past was gone in an instant, and I knew him for exactly who he was.
She also knew she was never going to see the $320,000 he'd scammed from her.
It was my career superannuation, so 22 years of working, and some savings and shares that I'd sold. It was my future, and it was my life savings, I guess, everything I'd worked for.
Hamish stole $8 million from his Australian victims, and as much as $70 million from investors around the world. He conned hundreds of people. But here, in the tiny English village of Midhurst, we finally found someone who got the better of Hamish McLaren.
So how did he sell himself?
He went to MIT, studied mathematics, that he'd designed trading systems, that he was currently working with Goldman Sachs, kind of top secret, that he travelled the globe, that he travelled in private jets. Without wishing to sound stupid, he was the golden goose.
Simon Schoen's career was stalled, and his special needs son, Sebastian, needed major heart surgery. So when the man, now calling himself Hamish Maxwell, offered him a lucrative investment deal, he jumped at it.
What he had to offer was going to change my life for the better.
Simon handed over his life savings. He also promised to find other investors for Hamish's scheme.
What was he offering?
Like doubling money.
But was it too good to be true?
Yeah, it makes you feel rather stupid, but the people I introduced him to were not stupid people, and had been in business and been successful. They were not suspicious. They were taken in.
But when Simon bragged about the investment scheme to his best mate Steve, Steve smelled a rat.
This just tiny alarm bell rang, which made me think, this is too good to be true. And that's what I suppose prompted me to start looking into Hamish Maxwell at the time, his name was.
Knowing that Hamish was a keen runner, Simon and Steve started looking through photographs from large Australian events.
I think that's the one.
So these are the photos where you spotted him?
Hamish had registered for the Sydney Half Marathon under his old name.
I just came across this Hamish McLaren and said, "Is this your man?"
That's him.
They had a name. A quick Google search revealed Hamish's long history of dodgy deals.
I went pretty cold, you know, where you just think, right, you know, I didn't want it to be true, but it is true. I think a lot of people would have felt like, you know, punch him in the face, for instance. So, you know, Simon needed calming down, and so it needed to be a methodical, thought-through process.
They were desperate to get Simon's money back, so they set up a sting of their own. They offered to introduce Hamish to an extremely wealthy investor, but Simon said he needed his life savings back first. That way, his bank records would show a substantial windfall from Hamish's scheme.
You make him an offer of a much bigger carrot, and luckily he took it.
Yeah. We scammed a scammer.
Satisfying?
It was a great feeling to get my money back.
All we did was con him. You know, all we did was do what he was doing to Simon. The tables have been turned.
But most of Hamish's victims lost all their money, and no one knows where those tens of millions of dollars have gone.
I don't know what he spent it on, but for somebody as shallow as him, just having the money is enough. You don't have to enjoy it. Just the knowledge that he has it and that you don't is enough.
Do you think he's got it stashed away somewhere?
I do think there's money somewhere, yeah. Many, many more millions. So. But he used to say to me, go to the police and I'll just sit on the beach for the rest of my life with the money.
For about 5 minutes.
Hello. Hi.
Oh, my God,
How are you? Good, how are you?
There's something about surviving trauma that brings women together.
Normally Friday nights we have very long conversations that last for about 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And Tracy Hall and Beck Rosen have been through the wars with conman Hamish McLaren.
It's the Hamish Survivors Club.
Yes.
Beck was married to Hamish. He crushed her heart when he had an affair with her son's 16-year-old girlfriend.
You're with this guy who you're madly in love with, and you have no idea.
Tracy was Hamish's final partner and the last person he scammed. She only found out his name wasn't Max after he was arrested.
I think what I focus on is just the fact I've met Beck, and she has not only filled in the pieces of the puzzle for me, but also been an incredible sounding board and support.
Today, Beck and Tracy are the closest of friends, forever bonded by a cruel and manipulative chameleon.
Cheers.
Yay.
I guess it's good to be able to share stories and have a laugh in a way, because, you know, somebody else who was in a relationship with him and went through what she went through, I felt like I wasn't on my own anymore.
Are you girls victims?
No, not at all.
No.
What do we call ourselves?
Survivors?
Survivors.
Yeah.
Can I ask an intimate question, as girls do, sitting around a table over a cheese board? Was he passionate?
Absolutely no way. And that's probably one of the first things we talked about. I was like, so, you know, was it as bad for you as it was for me, sort of conversation?
Yeah.
And the answer was pretty clear, yes.
So you're saying he'll get you to fall madly in love with him, and then the sex doesn't matter.
He was so happy to listen to and provide just a listening ear, and that was the intimacy, I suppose.
What a good listener. Such a caring guy, you know.
Such a great guy.
Tracy and Beck have spent hours dissecting their relationships with Hamish, and still they're no closer to understanding the man who took a wrecking ball to their lives.
He's dead.